What's going on, guys? My name is Omega and welcome back to another Apex Legends video. So today I want to take a look at all of the weapons in Apex, or at least the ones that I believe need to be changed for Season 8. We're also going to talk about what weapons I believe are going to be in the care package for next season, so hopefully you guys do enjoy this video. Starting off with the first weapon I want to talk about, and this is a weapon that I think needs a nerf in Season 8, and that is for the hemlok. So the reason I'm saying that is because I think in Season 7 the hemlok became just a little bit too powerful. These were the changes that we got in the beginning of Season 7. The hemlok had an increased horizontal recoil for the first 3 shots. They also increased the recoil magnitude in the later stages of the pattern. They reduced the recoil multiplier in single fire mode, and they also reduced the headshot multiplier from 2 to 1.75. Now, in my opinion, I think the hemlok is just a little bit too strong, a little bit too accurate. I also think the single fire shot speed is way too fast. I mean, that thing just makes the weapon so much better than the actual burst. I think the headshot multiplier might need to be decreased a little bit more. Like I said before, it was lowered from 2 to 1.7. It might need to be reduced even further to about 1.5. And in my opinion, they also need to reduce the single shot rate of fire, as right now it is currently 6.4 shots per second. It probably needs to be somewhere closer to around 6, just to make this weapon all around balanced. Now, next up we're going to talk about the longbow, because I think the longbow was a very dominant sniper up until October 1st of 2019, when the rate of fire was reduced from 1.6 shots per second to 1.3. This actually made a pretty big difference, as it was much easier to use the longbow at kind of like closer to medium long ranges with this increased rate of fire. After the change though, I feel like the longbow really fell off, and it's definitely been replaced in power by weapons like the triple take, the sentinel, even the charge rifle in my opinion is better than the longbow. The only other change that the longbow saw was in May of 2020 when Skull Piercer was brought back to the weapon. Now, I believe the longbow would benefit from a slight rate of fire increase. I think keeping it at like 1.4 or 1.5 would be a good sweet spot for the longbow, as like I mentioned before, it used to have a 1.6 rate of fire, which was way too fast, so somewhere in the middle of 1.6 and 1.3 is probably going to be the sweet spot for the longbow. Moving on to the Peacekeeper, man. The Peacekeeper is a weapon that has almost been in the care package for about a year. I think it's been like 9 months since the Peacekeeper was added to the care package, and I think in Season 8, it's time to bring this weapon back to ground loot. Now, to make it balanced, I would start by reverting back to the original changes before it became a care package weapon. So basically, increase the reload time from 2.45 seconds to 2.65 seconds, increase the rechamber time, and give it precision choke by default, but increase the charge up time and increase the shot spread to make it less effective at longer range. Now, in order to actually replace the Peacekeeper, I know a lot of people were talking about putting the Mastiff just back in the care package. Personally, I would like to see the EVA 8 to be put into the care package, because I think the EVA 8 is a shotgun that is definitely most effective at the late game, especially when you have all of the necessary attachments for it. So in my opinion, if you gave the EVA 8 digital threat, purple shotgun magazine, and a double tap and put it in the care package, as well as just give it a couple of buffs, I really think this weapon could be top tier and definitely one that many people look out for. In terms of what buffs it should get, I think the EVA 8 should definitely get a buff to reduce the time in between bursts when you have double tap. Right now it just seems way too long when you're kind of waiting after you do your initial burst shot, because it is like a second or so before you can actually start the second burst. You should also probably tighten the bullet spread just to be able to do a little bit more damage at medium range. I don't think this gun should turn into like a sniper or anything, but the EVA 8 is a very bad weapon at medium range, and I also think they need to increase the damage for each burst just to kind of make up for the fact that it would be a care package weapon, and obviously it has to be one that people actually want to use. Now, moving on to the Mozambique, this is more of a smaller change. I don't think like a huge change should happen to the Mozambique, but I definitely would like to see the Mozambique be more usable in Season 8. I think one way to improve the Mozambique would be give it 5 bullets instead of 4. Having that extra shot I think would really help out the weapon, especially in either early game fights or when you're utilizing the hammer points on it. I think they also need to decrease the time it takes for you to actually pull the weapon out, because a lot of times you're in the middle of a fight with your main weapon, and once you break the enemy shields, that's the best time to switch to your Mozambique. But the problem is that sometimes it takes too long to actually pull the gun out, so you end up either just losing the fight or not being able to get the kill. Now, the Havoc is another weapon that I would like to see a small change with. Currently, it has the highest base magazine for any assault rifle, and combined with the recoil buffs it got in Season 7, it makes it a pretty powerful weapon. In Season 8, I would would like to see a decrease in the base magazine size from 24 to 22, kind of just to put it back on par with the other assault rifles, because I do think once you get turbocharger on this weapon, it just becomes very good, and with the recoil buffs, it is a lot easier to control. And I would also like to see the Havoc have select fire receiver already a part of the weapon's kit, so you have an option for long range. Moving on to the Alternator, I think it can be a very accurate and very good weapon to use, especially in the early game. It kind of falls off in the late game compared to the Volt and the R99, but I think it is definitely one of the most accurate SMGs that we currently have. I think possibly in Season 8 it should get a slight damage increase just in order to be able to compete with the Volt and the R99, because right now whenever you have an Alternator, you usually will always switch it out for like an R99 or maybe replace it with a Volt later on in the game, just because both those SMGs are much better in the later game compared to the Alternator. Now the RE45 is another weapon that I think should be buffed in Season 8. It's always kind of lived in the shadows of other pistols and especially other SMGs. Let me know down in the comments below if you guys have any ideas on how we could buff the RE45. Possibly you could give the base gun more bullets in the clip just to have more survivability in the beginning of the game, and maybe just increase the damage just so it becomes more of a threat in the later game. Finally, we're going to talk about the triple take, which in my opinion needs further changes as it's still one of the strongest snipers in the game. The last change the triple take had was on November 4th when the fire rate was reduced from 1.3 to 1.2, making it the lowest fire rate of any sniper and also the lowest fire rate that the triple take has ever seen. I also think that the precision choke by default charges the triple take way too fast and makes it pretty powerful, especially if you're using it at close or medium range. They might also need to give the weapon just a little bit more recoil just so it's not as easier to use at longer ranges. You know, the triple take is one of those snipers that literally does everything every other sniper does, but just a little bit better, so they probably still need to give it a couple more nerfs just to make the rest of the snipers more balanced. Now, in terms of the care package weapons for Season 8, I really think the Prowler, the Kraber, and the EVA 8 should be the weapons in the care packages. You know, like I mentioned before, the Prowler has just been always a very overpowered SMG. It's in a pretty good spot in the care package right now, considering that you can't get it off of a drop. The EVA 8 is a weapon that I also think could just be made a lot better if they gave it a couple buffs. It really could be a very well-rounded, you know, care package weapon. I just think that it needs a little bit more improvements before it can get to that spot. And then obviously the Kraber, because the Kraber is just a one-shot sniper that is still hard to use, but it would never make it into ground loot. I could not see that ever happening. But let me know down in the comments below, you know, whether you guys agree or disagree with anything that I mentioned in today's video. But as always, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe and drop a like down below. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Hopefully you'll have a great day. Peace out.